I wanted to do another installment of this "What Have They Done to Us" video, well, series of videos, and I wanted to talk about tolerance, right? So, what have they done to us? Well, to put it bluntly, they have gotten Americans to tolerate evil and to accept evil as good. How can that be? How can that be? Well, it's very simple. What they do is they frame evil as the acceptance of evil as being tolerant, and then they try to guilt people into accepting the evil and saying if you don't accept it, you're a bad person and you're intolerant. So you have to be wary of this, because a lot of people are dancing with Satan, and they're Catholics, or they're Orthodox, or they're Coptics, or they're whatever, Christians, and they're dancing with Satan because they've accepted Satan's values. Okay? And you know the issues I'm talking about. Ending the lives of the unborn, accepting perversion as normal, thinking that it's okay to help someone end their life. Okay? These things are forbidden in the Bible. And whether or not you're offended, that's too bad. Talk to God. Okay? Talk to the big guy. Because that's the one who laid down the law. Not you. Not you. And you have no right to lay down the law. That's not your place. But some people think it is their place. And they put the values up there. And if Americans don't accept it, they're bad people. They're intolerant. They're bigots. Blah, 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 blah. And then, they bash you. And then they, of course, put this filth into television, movies, music for kids, education. The parents now have no control over their education, and their kids are being fed filth in school. And this is why California is down 500,000 students in the public school system, because people are homeschooling, or the people are not born because certain parents decided to end the kids' lives before they were born. So there's less people in the school system in California, 500,000 in fact. And there's different reasons, like I just mentioned. And of course, people don't want their kids in the school anymore because they're turning their kids into monsters, spiritually bankrupt monsters. So, and of course, they do this in disguise. Get these kids to accept filth and the abnormal as normal. This is how you know it's satanic, because that's what satanic, ideals are. They're everything's inverted. Male's female, female's male, good is bad, bad is good. It's like in Macbeth. Foul is fair and fair is foul. Okay, this is what we have here. This is what we're dealing with, and they've gotten a lot of Americans to accept this, and the country's being punished. In my opinion, and it's not God punishing us; it's just a natural consequence of sin, and the fact that nobody wants to repent of their filth, like by turning your television off. So if you just turn your television off and don't watch the filth, you'd be repenting, right? And they would get a message. Americans don't want this crap anymore, right? If you don't watch their filthy movies or read their garbage online, listen to their crappy music, then you would be repenting. But Americans go with the flow, man. Everybody's doing it. Go with the flow. It's mainstream. Well, mainstream's going right off the cliff with the 300 Buffalo, right down to the rocks, where their brains are going to get smashed in, right? Metaphorically speaking. The American Indians used to run buffalo off a cliff before they killed them and ate them. Americans are being run off a cliff. And they're being run off a cliff because they've accepted evil. They're tolerant of evil. And it's the same for Europe. Listen, there's a limit to what you can tolerate. Tolerance does not mean embracing evil. It means, okay, when you're tolerant, meaning you're merciful and understanding of another person's viewpoint and their situation. So then you're tolerant of that. You're tolerant of differences, but there's limits. There are cultures that just cannot live together because neither culture is going to bend. One's going to dominate the other. You understand? So you can't live together. If you let people in your country that's going to conquer you, then therefore you can't play nice in the sandbox together. And therefore that's, you can't have tolerance because one's going to try to conquer the other. So you don't have to feel guilty that you don't want to be conquered by other people and controlled. There's nothing to feel guilty about that. God ordained freedom. He gives us free will. And if he gives us free will to do what we want, and that means making mistakes, he lets us make mistakes. He tries to guide us, but he gives us free will. We're not puppets. Then we should have that when we're governed. That freedom. Not to hurt others, but to be able to do what we think is best, given the fact that we don't hurt others and damage our society. Because you have to think of other people around us. What we do affects other people around us. And what's happened is we have a lot of us, not everybody, maybe I'm speaking to the choir here, but a lot of people have embraced demonic ideals, and they're dancing with Satan, and there's going to be consequences for that because they're not in a state of grace and they're not under the God's umbrella. And then you wonder why things happen because you have embraced demonic ideals, and you're a coward because you will not say the truth in front of other people when they try to guilt you because you may feel differently. I've had people try to do that to me, and I give it right back to them in their face. I am not dancing with Satan so that you could think well of me. I don't care. I only care if God thinks well of me. That's all that matters. Does God think well of me? Because that's the one that's going to judge me, not you. That's not your place. So if you have ideals that don't agree with the world, and you should if you're a Christian, because Christianity is at odds with this demonically manipulated world. Okay, and I'm talking about mainstream values in a society. I'm not talking about nature. And if you're at odds with those things, well, then there's going to be conflict. And either you're a coward or you're going to have courage and say, I don't agree with this. Not saying you have to go out and shout and whatnot, but you can protest in other ways, like homeschooling your kids, like turning off your TV, like not watching their movie, not eating movies, not eating their poison food, or taking their poison drugs, or whatever it is. And I mean doing drugs too. Getting high. They're poisoning you. You're being poisoned. And your lifespan's being shortened. Why are you complying with this? Why? Do not tolerate evil. Tolerance does not mean tolerating evil. And this is what's been done to us. Because too many people tolerate evil. And it's dragging us into the pit as a society. Look at the cities. Look at our cities in America. Look what they're turning into. Right? And then go back 100 years and look at our cities. What they were. Magnificent. They were magnificent. No more. Look at Detroit, Camden, New Jersey, St. Louis, New York, L.A. L.A.'s got a plague problem with rats, right? That's a magnificent city? I don't think so. San Francisco, feces on the street, hepatitis, blowing in the wind. Great place to visit. Yeah, okay. We tolerate evil. And because of that, we are all suffering for it. See? So we have to have discipline, self-discipline. We have to have a moral standard based on the Ten Commandments. Ten Commandments that Jesus, summarized in the two great commandments: love God, and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And we live by that ideal. and we will have a better society. Much better. But we have to stop tolerating evil, because it's going to end extremely badly, and we're getting close. And Jesus is not pleased, because he stood up for you and was murdered, standing up before the authorities who murdered him. So I think you can stand up before the cowards that try to bully you at every turn. And if enough of us do, they back off, because cowards back off. Anyway, that's my little spiel, and that's really the way I feel. Americans have and Europeans, they're guilty of it too. Australians are guilty of it. New Zealanders, you're all guilty of it. Because you all tolerate filth. Stop tolerating it. Throw it in the pail where it belongs and demand better. Create better. Create better in your life. Get your creativity back. Stop letting other people feed you filth. Make the videos, make the music, make the movies, make the new stuff based on beauty and truth, instead of letting yourself being force-fed trash. Okay. Well, I hope this makes sense. Let me know if it makes sense. Anyway, have a nice day.